This is Andy Purewal for Boxing Social in association with Betfred, and I'm delighted to be joined by Xavier Miller here in Milton Keynes. Xavier, first and foremost, how are you doing?
Not too bad, not too bad. Been here, well, basically a week now, but I'm getting used to it.
Now, I know that we've all been in a bubble this week, but have you ever stopped by Milton Keynes before?
Yeah, definitely, because I spent quite a few years in the amateurs. You just go to different boxing clubs, different tournaments and so on. So, yeah, well, I've been everywhere, Bognor just everywhere, yeah.
Now, Xavier, obviously you've got John Harding Jr. fighting tomorrow night, but before we come on to that, people certainly started to take more notice of you because of that Dillian Whyte link-up. But talk to me about kind of your route into boxing. So for those who don't know kind of your backstory, just take me through your progression into the sport.
Yeah, I mean, I got into boxing very, very early, young age, from around 11. In secondary school, I met a coach who was doing an after-school program. You know, I really enjoyed it, but I was the only one that was going, so the program stopped. That coach continued to train me at his house. We had our own little agreement. Unfortunately, he died when I was, I met him when I was about 14. He died when I was about 15. So he died very early, but he was an extraordinary coach. He used to coach in Detroit. Taught me so many things. It was hard to deal with. Went away from boxing for a while, then got back into it, and then eventually decided to become a coach. So, yeah, and then I met my business partner. We worked in the same business, and we decided to set up a IQ boxing, and just built our own amateur gym. Then started to develop the pros, and yeah, it's been going from strength to strength. I think we set up our gym in 2012, 2013, Neasden IQ boxing.
What made you kind of opt against pursuing a more detailed or longer career as maybe a professional, the amateur route, and going straight into say, the coaching side of things?
Yeah, my dream was to fight, man, but I couldn't pass the medical for various reasons, so I had to forget that dream and then pursue coaching. It's not something that initially I actually wanted to do, but someone took a lot of time to teach me a lot of things, and I wanted to pass it on and help others. So that's the reason why I got into coaching. That was the main reason at first.
It's interesting you talk about this now, because I did an interview yesterday with Jamie Moore, which is due to go out tomorrow, same day as this, and he spoke about the influence Oliver Harrison had on himself before Oliver sadly passed away. He says now when he's training his guys, he likes to feel like he's kind of got that same influence that Oliver had on him, and he can pass on to his guys. Are you the same with your past coach, I take it?
Yeah, I mean, everything I do is to honour him. I'm the only one really in my family that's actually, come from boxing. My uncle got me into boxing when I was very young, and they're the two guys really that I honour as my coach and my uncle. And everything that I was taught then, I'm actually teaching it to fighters now. That's how good my coach was, and I don't forget anything he showed me. It's always on your pivot. Defense has to be tight. He even showed me how to wrap hands. He showed me so many different things. At the time, you take it for granted, it's nothing. But he said one day you might want to do it. So it was strange, but we're here now. It's been a long, long journey to get here, but we're here.
Obviously, times evolves and the sport itself has evolved since then. What's been the biggest changes and differences that you've seen in boxing from back when you obviously was training with your amateur coach to what we see now?
I think the main thing is, I think a lot of fighters are avoiding difficult fights. I grew up really liking the 80s fighters, Sugar Ray Leonard, Tommy Hearns, Hagler, Duran. Loved those guys. They all boxed each other. And then I really loved Evander Holyfield. He's my favourite fighter of all time. But again, he won his belts, and then he fights the number one contender. And that doesn't seem to be happening regularly enough now in today's boxing, which is a real shame, because you work so hard to get to a mandatory position, and really you should get a shot, and you don't get it. This some fighters have waited years and years and years to get a shot, and then eventually, they ultimately they don't even end up getting it. It shouldn't be that way. There's a procedure, and you're fighting good contenders to get to that position, and you should be entitled to get your shot. And I think that's the main thing that's actually gone wrong. I think fortunately this year, I mean, it's been such it's been such a strange year, for everybody. But the one good thing to come out of it is that there's been a lot of good 50-50 fights. I think all the promoters have done a really good job keeping boxing alive. And I think the fans have benefited from these kind of fights. They've been some outstanding fights, honestly. So, yeah, you got to take the good with the bad and the bad with the good.
How much do you feel that kind of a sport has missed out on seeing more evenly matched fights up until, say, these past 6 months or so? Because I'll watch UFC bits and pieces, but I'm not a knowledgeable expert on it. Excuse me. But with kind of that sport, there seems to be a lot more evenly matched fights, a lot more fights for kind of getting the traction. Why do you think it is that in say a sport like UFC we can see that, but in boxing it seems to be a lot more difficult to get those fights over the line?
I've always said you almost need to have one governing body governing everything. It's just too fragmented. It's going to be difficult to get us back there. But listen, eventually it probably will. I think the boxing fans they're intelligent, they're knowledgeable, they know exactly what's going on, and they want to see good fights. They don't want to see mismatches. They don't want to see a guy get blown out in one round. They want to see on paper good competitive fights. Not always good competitive fights, even on paper, but going in, that's how it should be. Let's just hope that we eventually get back there.
A few questions back, you said that kind of it's taken a lot of time for yourself and your business partner to get to this point, to get your gym to this point, and to start kind of getting the recognition that you probably feel you've deserved for the years of work you've put into the sport. Why do you feel it has taken so long for, in this case it was Dillian, him coming on board, that has kind of propelled you guys up? But why do you think it's taken so long for you guys to get your name out there?
I don't look at it as a negative at all. As far as I'm concerned, in boxing, to me, you can't cheat. You have to put the work in. You have to put the foundation in. We spent years doing what we're doing so we can get here. I want to be known, when it's all said and done, I want to be known for creating good fighters, developing good fighters, and also, getting good fighters and making adjustments. I mean, that's what I want to be known for. But it is really, really important to me to develop some of the fighters I've had through the amateurs. They've now turned pro, and for them to go on and win titles and so on, was obviously, to me, is just that means everything. That was our whole plan from the beginning, was to, open our own gym, get these kids off the street, create a safe environment to come in to learn a different sport.
Pick that back up there, Xavier. It's very unprofessional on my part. My card just ran full in the middle of that question there. We talk about kind of why you feel that it's taken so long for you guys to get the credit that you feel you probably deserve for the years you've put into the sport. Just pick it back up and take it away.
Yeah, as I was saying, I think we've done the right things. We've put the time in, and as I was saying, it's just really important to develop fighters, bring them through the amateur system, get them to turn pro, and just take them on the right path so they're prepped and ready to fight for titles. And that's exactly what we've been doing for the last few years. So everything is actually going exactly as we'd planned. I've worked with big name fighters before, so it's nothing new to me. But it's just embracing like the sport as a whole. Just being known for being involved in building fighters and, improving fighters.
As a coach, how hard is it to find the right balance when you've got a fighter who's going through the amateur system, to get them to stick to the right path? Because we see in the professionals, if you can make it it can be a very luxurious kind of sport for themselves, and can make a lot of money to be able to set up their families and what have you. Do you have kind of any issues trying to make sure that a young fighter who might have a lot of potential to go through the amateur system sticks to that, instead of just kind of getting lured away by the luxuries that the professional ranks hold?
I think it's a really good question. When my coach died when I was very, very young, he actually was a professional boxing coach. He wasn't an amateur coach. So it's been easy for me. Just like the guys that we've actually built through our amateur system, I've trained them as pros, not as amateurs. They were boxing in amateur tournaments, but they were boxing like professionals. The only difficulty I've had is that, obviously, because the gym did so well, other fighters from other gyms obviously have come to our gym, and they're good amateurs, but they do have, obviously, an amateur boxing style. and it's taken me a while to try and get some of those habits out of them, and then it's almost like rebuilding. So that has been a challenge. But again, I like it because, I want to be a complete coach. If I can get a kid to transfer from the amateurs to the pros, then I've done a good job. Sometimes you got guys that are in the amateurs, and sometimes they've got too much of a pro style, and the amateurs don't. The amateur system doesn't like it. So then you got to water it down slightly and then build from there. But honestly, this is the job of a coach. And I think it's important that I think coaches should be praised for the work they do in the amateurs, as well as fighters. We always praise boxers for having such a good amateur career. They've gone and done this and that in the amateurs, and then they've gone pro, done really well. You should do the same for coaches. If coaches have built up good fighters in the amateur system, and they've turned pro, to me that's part of a coach's development. Not everyone has had the luxury to be able to do that. I was quite fortunate. Me and my business partner took a massive gamble. We were working at another amateur boxing club, but we wanted to do things our way. And we were lucky enough to get hold of a building, and the people at that building were, they believed in in the philosophy that we had, and the relationship's just gone from strength to strength. We just kept on building. So I think it's important to praise coaches. Like, I've heard some people saying, well, this person's an amateur coach, they're not really a pro coach. Well, that's part of your foundation, part of your development. You should be praised for going through the process and doing the right things. I mean, Manuel Stewart had Tommy Hearns doing the amateurs, great amateur, great professional. I mean, like I say, it seems like we're getting away from what's important in the sport, and we should be praising coaches for keeping guys in the amateurs for as long as you can so they can get the experience, and then praising them if they want to go forward and become professional boxing coaches.
How do you feel? You just said there, kind of, you garner more of and you teach more of a professional style to your guys coming through. How do you feel that professional style kind of adjusts or transitions over to the amateur ranks? Because certainly when an amateur turns over, all the talk is how will they adapt to kind of the professional style. How do you find that a professional style in the amateur ranks works out?
I think it was very difficult for me and my business partner Nick to exist in the amateur system, because it was a relatively new club. When we did come on the scene, you had gyms that had been open for years, the likes of Finchley, Repton. They've been around a long time, and we came in and we were doing things slightly different. It took a long time for them to embrace and accept what we were doing. We had to go through a lot, me and Nick. It was a good idea for us to become amateur judges as well, so we can go to different tournaments, trying to understand exactly how the system works. Because initially we were opening a gym, but we weren't actually going to be going through the amateur system. We were just going to start building our pros from scratch in our gym. But then we said, it'd be good for those guys to get experience, because that's one thing you can't buy is experience. The times that you've left the change room and gone to the ring, you can't buy that. So that was the only reason why we actually decided, okay, we're going to go into the amateur boxing system. Every single boxer is based individually. Some guys find it easy to make the transition. Other guys find it really difficult. Some guys turn pro too early. Some guys leave it too late and have way too many amateur fights and are stuck in an amateur style, and they just find it difficult to make the transition. It's difficult, but you have to get the timing right. Me and Nick now know when a guy should be turning pro. We've got good amateurs in our club. We're only looking at maybe one or two at the moment that could actually turn pro. The others still got a lot of development to do. So yeah, it's just about getting the timing right.
When you are training them at a younger age as well, for most amateurs coming through the system, the be-all and end-all is going to compete at kind of a Commonwealth Games and Olympics or Worlds. Mm-hmm. What do you kind of say to those guys? Do you try to nourish them into kind of thinking it's not all about that, it's just about kind of developing your own abilities? Do you have guys who come to you like, listen, that's my goal, I've got to do it? How do you kind of teach them to make them understand that it isn't going to be the be-all and end-all if that doesn't happen for them?
It's another good question. And I'll be honest with you, me and Nick were never interested in the Olympics or Commonwealth Games. That's nothing. It just wasn't on our agenda. I've said to boxers that have come to our gym that if that's the route you want to go down, I suggest you go to a different club. maybe a bigger club, a more well-established club, because we've already got like a plan. We know we actually want to transition, and once we've done that, we've got other coaches that will continue developing the amateurs. But we're both going to be turning pro by a certain date. We stuck to what we said, and some of those fighters that we were building, they turned over pro at the same time as us. I have had guys come to my gym, and I've said to them, I'll be honest with you, I'm here to help. You know what I mean? Help fighters. And if I feel that I can't help you, I'll be honest with you, this is not the place for you. So, honestly, that was never of any interest to us at all. Never.
You mentioned, once again, going back, let's say, 3 or 4 questions, you've worked with a number of high-level athletes. Just kind of talk to me about them and the guys who you have worked with, for those who won't know.
Yeah, I mean, everyone knows that I've worked. I was in the corner for Jazorevic Takam. I've been in the corner with Frank Buglioni before, and obviously now I'm working with Dillian. But yeah, I've always been around good guys anyway. I've been around the sport like my whole life, so it's been a long road, and obviously everyone's talking about me now. But it's no surprise to anybody in my circle, because they know that's all I've ever done. So it's like I say, it's taken a long time to get here, but we're doing some good work, and we've got some really good fighters coming up. The likes of Cain Prosper, who's the English champion at the moment, Youssef Kamari, Dennis Wahome, Yasser Alguina. I've got so many, Adrian Redmond. I've got so many good boxers coming up. Plamedy, I'm just about to turn pro as well. And I've got 2 new female boxers that I'll probably be announcing in the next 3-4 weeks, who've had really good amateur careers. So yeah, we know we're building.
That is quite a stacked stable there. But it's interesting because some coaches will like to train as many fighters as can. You go to Joe Gallagher, must have about 10, 11 fighters. Shane McGuigan got 4 or 5 fighters. Up and down the country, they have varying amounts. For you, from the sounds of it, what do you feel you could get more out of maybe training more fighters instead of, say, a smaller portion, or is that just me kind of just looking beyond it?
No, to be honest with you, I mean, we've got a good 5-6 coaches at my gym. So at the moment, I mean, all my time is with Dillian. Youssef Kamari's been out in Portugal with me. Cain Prosper's been out there with me as well, and John Harding Jr., who's obviously fighting tomorrow. So I mean, I'm training about 5 guys at the moment, but we do have other coaches in the gym, so they'll spend a lot of time with those coaches, and obviously then they'll filter them onto me, or they'll take the lead role. I'm trying to develop the coaches at my gym as well, so they're head coaches. I've been around so long that I've had quite a few friends in boxing who come to me and said to me, how did I set up my club? I've embraced them, brought them into my club, let them bring their boxers in, and they've moved on and opened their own clubs now. So again, it's just giving back and just helping people to push on and move forward, and let people realise that, someone else has done it before you. You can do it as well. Just to encourage and just help. Just help develop and give people the confidence to want to do it themselves.
What made you believe for your own career, Xavier, that going to Portugal and training out there would be the right move, would be the one that could kind of get the most out of your fighters?
To be honest, it wasn't planned that way. Obviously this year has been crazy, and I think what we've done as a collective is make the best of it. I mean, there's a lot of people who haven't been able to work, been stuck at home. For us, it's been a very busy year, and I'm just very grateful for it, and just we'll just take that into next year and just continue.
Let's obviously come on to tomorrow night. John Harding Jr. getting back into the ring. He's fighting for the English title against Linus Udofia. It's an interesting kind of position that John finds himself in. He's lost to Jack Cullen, came back, he's fought once, victorious. But is this, in your opinion, kind of John's last chance to really have a go at kind of making something of himself in boxing because of his age, or do you think this isn't necessarily the be-all and end-all for him?
I think he should look at this fight that way. It's a second chance. Very short notice, the last one, so he shouldn't really take too much from that. It's very difficult to cut that sort of weight within 2-3 weeks, and he was way up there, in probably around 80 kg. He's had a long training camp this time round. It's been his sparring's been good, and boxers being in condition. I don't give credit for fighters being in shape. it's your job. That's like giving someone credit for being on time for work. It's your job to be in shape. And it's going to be his job tomorrow to turn up and perform under the bright lights. It's a genuine 50-50 fight. I know Linus very well. I've got a good maybe 4 fighters signed with Steve Goodwin, so I'm often on those shows. So I've seen Linus fight about 4 or 5 times, so I know him well. It's going to be a very, very tough fight for both. But John Harding, he looks like someone who's been in boxing a long, long time. A lot of the things he does is just natural. He's very confident. He's hungry, and he's had bigger challenges in his life than this. That's for sure. So, we're looking to rip that title, and like I said yesterday in the interview, sky's the limit if he picks up that title, and he will do.
What should we expect in that bout tomorrow night? I asked them both kind of for different reasons. There's a few fights on the card which could certainly catch a light tomorrow night. But in that bout and in that case, do you believe that could be the fight of the night? It could be the one which everybody will go away and remember more so than the others?
Yeah, I think so. I think the styles, and because obviously there's a title on the line, John Harding, to me, is in a very, very good position here. He's been up at this level before. He's been in a big fight on Sky before. I don't think Linus has. I know Linus has been on Sky before, but it's not been in a big fight. Also, John Harding has boxed. He boxed in March on the undercard of one of my fighters, Kay Prosper, defended his English title against Bilal Raymond. And John Harding was on there, and he was fantastic that night. He was really, really good, sharp, powerful. So he's actually been more active than Linus. But outside of that, it's a genuine 50-50. I do think that maybe those 2 factors will be the difference. I think John just looks very comfortable here, and I'm expecting a good performance from John. He's been looking the part, and I expect him to rip that title from Linus.
Sorry. You mentioned one fight that you'll be keeping a close eye on tomorrow night is the Akif Fias and Cain Baker fight, because you want one of your guys to kind of face the winner of that bout. Just on it, what do you expect in that bout? Again, I asked both of them guys, do they feel that their fight could kind of be the best one on the night simply because of the extra needle that there will be there because of the fact the first fight got pulled with Akif falling ill? What do you make of that fight, and what are you actually expecting?
I'm expecting a great fight from those two. I think Baker, he looks the more, I don't know what's the word, maybe the more experienced, and Fias, isn't it?
Yeah.
Young up and coming guy. I'm not sure how many fights he's had. 5 or 6 fights maybe.
5, I believe.
Yeah, so it's going to be a tough fight. Again, this looks like a genuine 50-50. That's why I like this fight. If I get a chance, I really want to watch it. But I'm really interested in the winner because Dillian's just signed my super featherweight Super Youssef Kamari, and that's a fight I'm really, really interested in. It'd be a great fight for Youssef to make his debut on Sky at some point. So yeah, I'm really interested in the winner of that fight. But yeah, either one of those 2 fights is going to be fight of the night to me. 2 great fights.
Now, I know you'd have been asked about him numerous occasions since that night back in September 1st or August. It's been quite a long couple of months, but yeah, that fight with Alexander Povetkin. Just going back over onto Dillian, how is Dillian doing, and how's kind of his mindset? We've had the rematch announced now for November. How's Dillian holding up now?
I really haven't got much to say on that. To be honest with you, it's just we're back to work. We got the rematch. We got what we wanted, and we're ready to go. I haven't really got anything else to add to it. At the moment, my focus is obviously on John Harding, and then obviously I can answer any questions about any other boxer tomorrow. That's
perfectly fine. There, Xavier, obviously we'll leave it there. Final word to yourself, though, for everybody who does tune in. What would you like to say to them ahead of tomorrow night?
Yeah, this looks like another great card. I thought the whole fight camp itself was fantastic. The Cheeseman Eglinton fight was outstanding. It's going to be another great one, definitely. There was another kid actually on that fight camp, Dalton Smith. Yeah, he reminds me of a young Arturo Gatti. I like the look of him. I'm interested in the fight with him as well for my English champion, Kay Prosper, super lightweight. Hopefully you can find a way to get that fight done. I think that's a great fight for Kay. Kay's been waiting to be on a big platform as a headline for a long time, or chief support for a long time. He's put the work in. He had to work really hard to get that title. Had 2 wars with Sam Mason to get there, and then he's defended it again in March. So that's a fight I'd really like to get.
Xavier, we'll leave it there, and we'll leave you now to enjoy the rest of your evening, get some rest ahead of obviously tomorrow night, while this goes out, this will be on the night, I should say. But yeah, appreciate your time tonight, mate, and best of luck with that bout. Thank you for speaking to Boxing Social.
Thank you very much. Take care.